The world is a battlefield, and most men fail not because they are weak, but because they waste their energy fighting problems they cannot solve. They try to control chaos, control people, and control luck. And when reality hits them hard, when the storm does what storms always do, they fall apart, broken and useless. But if you want to rise above everyone else, you must use a stronger tool, detachment. Machiavelli understood this truth. He did not complain about bad luck. He learned how to use it. He did not cry about cruel people. He used that too. He did not shake with fear in front of power. He used it even when it hurt. This is how untouchable people think, cold, smart, a hunter, not the hunted. You will not control everything, and you should not try. Instead, you master yourself, and when you do, you become protected from the chaos that drowns others. Detachment is not weakness. It is the best kind of discipline, the ability to walk through fire without getting burned. If you understand this, you are already steps ahead of everyone else. Comment this to lock it into your mind. I bend to nothing. I adapt to everything. The anatomy of control. Power begins with a tough question. What can I command, and what is forever beyond my reach? Most men never ask it. They stumble blindly, pouring their energy into things they cannot change. They beg for loyalty from people who are disloyal. They demand fairness from a world that was never designed to be fair. They grab the wheel of fortune as if it owes them obedience, and when it turns away, they are dragged screaming into the ditch. This is weakness disguised as effort. A Machiavellian mind does not work this way. A cold thinker knows control is like money. Waste it on things you cannot change, and you lose everything. Spend it on the things you can command, your thoughts, your moves, your friends, and you become dangerous. Detachment is not about not caring. It is about being precise. You cut away the lies. You throw out the noise and you direct all of your focus where it matters. A ruler who worries too much about his enemy's storms forgets to guard his own walls. A man who rages at things he cannot change loses command over himself. Detachment prevents this. It keeps your blade sharp. It keeps your mind clear. And most importantly, it keeps you untouchable. Because when others are frozen by frustration, you are already 3 steps ahead, moving quietly, thinking, preparing to strike. This is what it means to think with Machiavelli's cold mind. Never waste energy on battles that were lost before they began. Direct your power only where it defeats the opponent, strengthens your position, or secures your future. Everything else, let it die on its own. That is the anatomy of true control. Now burn this into your mind. Comment below, my control is deadly. My detachment unbreakable. The weight of emotion. Emotion is the leash that enslaves men. Look around you. Most people are ruled not by reason, but by reaction. A word cuts them. A betrayal breaks them. A failure poisons their spirit for weeks. Their emotions are strings. And anyone who learns to pull them becomes their master. This is why detachment is not optional. It is survival. A Machiavellian mind knows that feelings are tools, never rulers. Anger, fear, love, sadness. These are weapons to use when helpful, masks to wear when the moment demands, but to be ruled by them is suicide. You must understand power is cold, because warmth makes you predictable. When they know your soft spots, they can hurt you at will. When they know what makes you angry, they can trap you. When they know what makes you love, they can chain you. You must rise above this weakness. The world respects not the man who feels deeply, but the man who controls his own emotions, who walks through fire without flinching. This does not mean you kill your emotions. It means you own them. You decide when they speak, when they are quiet, when they are used as weapons against others. To the crowd, you will appear inhuman, unshaken, unreadable, untouchable. And that is exactly the point. For when your enemies expect you to break, you will stand. When the world expects you to beg, you will command. When chaos tears apart weaker men, you will remain calm, thinking, ready to strike at the perfect moment. Machiavelli's cold mindset is not about lacking emotion. It is about denying emotion the right to rule your mind. The man who feels everything collapses. The man who feels nothing makes mistakes. But the man who decides when to feel, he becomes the master of all. From this moment forward, your emotions belong to you alone. No one else has the key. Etch this into your will. Comment below, my emotions serve me. I serve nothing. The illusion of attachment. Attachment is the silent poison that destroys the minds of men. They attach themselves to people, to titles, to possessions, to short moments, and then call it meaning. But meaning built on weak things is nothing but a trap. The cruel truth is this. Everything outside of yourself can be taken from you. Your money can disappear overnight. Friends can turn into enemies. Love can rot into betrayal. Status can vanish with a single mistake. If your identity is welded to these things, then you are not a man. You are a hostage and life is your jailer. Machiavelli knew the danger of attachment. He understood that rulers who hold on to the love of the people become slaves to their applause, bending and breaking to keep it. He knew that those chained to wealth grow desperate when it slips and desperation creates deadly errors. The cold thinker learns to use attachments as tools, never as anchors. You can value people without depending on them. You can enjoy possessions without being owned by them. You can hold power without letting it choke you. Detachment means recognizing that everything external is a loan, not a guarantee. When you see life this way, loss no longer destroys you and gain no longer makes you drunk. You are steady, balanced, untouchable. The crowd will never understand this. They are addicted to their attachments, and their addiction makes them predictable, controllable, weak. But you are not here to join the crowd. You are here to rise above it. To be feared, respected, and unbroken, you must step into the cold discipline of detachment. When you free yourself from the illusion of attachment, you create something indestructible: inner strength. Nothing can be used against you because nothing owns you. Betrayal cannot destroy you because you never surrendered your foundation. Loss cannot crush you because you never built your soul on shifting ground. This is the essence of Machiavellian cold power: to walk through life as a man who owns everything within himself and nothing owns him. Only then do you become truly dangerous, truly free. Now carve this truth into your mind. Comment below: nothing owns me. I walk untouchable. The fortress of the mind. The strongest fortress is not built of stone, steel, or walls. It is built within the mind. And yet most men leave their inner fortress undefended. They let doubts walk through their gates. They let the whispers of critics carve holes in their confidence. They let fear roam freely, turning their thoughts into prison bars. And so even with armies, with wealth, with influence, they are weak because their mind is not theirs. Understand this. A Machiavellian man cannot afford such weakness. He builds his mind into a fortress so strong that no enemy, no circumstance, no betrayal can break it. How is this fortress built? Discipline over thought, discipline over reaction, discipline over focus. The average man thinks what he feels and feels what he thinks, like a leaf carried by the wind. But you will decide what deserves space in your mind. Every doubt is crushed. Every weakness questioned, every distraction cut out like a tumor. To defend your inner walls, you must master silence, the silence to hear your own strategy, the silence to resist the noise of the mob. You must master focus, the ability to aim all your energy at one point until it breaks. And you must master resilience, the art of rising each time the world believes you have been defeated. A fortress is tested not in peace, but in attack. And your mind will be tested the same. There will be days when betrayal cuts, when failure claws at your pride, when fear whispers that you are not enough. But if your fortress is strong, these attacks only bounce off your walls and fade. Remember this: no kingdom, no power, no throne can last if the man who holds it cannot first rule himself. The world bends not to brute force alone, but to the will of a man who cannot be broken. This is why Machiavelli wrote for rulers, for thinkers, for men who understood that survival is an art of coldness. And this is why you must make your mind untouchable. Because once your fortress is complete, once your will is sharpened into iron, you no longer fear storms. You direct them. You no longer fear betrayal. You expect it. You no longer fear loss. You endure it. That is the essence of being untouchable. That is the fortress every man must build if he dares to rise above the crowd. Seal this command into your mind. Comment below: my mind is my fortress and nothing can break it. The art of cold dominance. Power is not given. Power is taken, sharpened, and then used without apology. But understand this: raw power without control is a fire that burns its owner. The art of dominance is not about constant aggression, nor is it about endless submission. It is about knowing exactly when to strike, when to wait, and when to let others destroy themselves. This is where the Machiavellian mindset separates men into two classes: the rulers and the ruled. The crowd believes dominance is loud. They believe it is about yelling, forcing, showing teeth at every turn. But true cold dominance is silent, patient, invisible until the very moment it must be revealed. It is the art of making others believe they act freely when in truth they move exactly where you want them. It is the art of controlling the board without touching every piece. That is where your detachment becomes the sharpest weapon. Because the man who is detached is not reactive. He cannot be baited into traps. He cannot be shaken by insults. He cannot be bribed by flattery or destroyed by rejection. He stands immovable like a mountain. And it is others who exhaust themselves trying to climb him. To dominate coldly, you must first master perception. Men are predictable because they live chained to their desires, fears, and attachments. They expose themselves in every word, every reaction, every craving. Watch them, study them. Observe the man who cannot stand silence. He will always overexpose himself trying to fill it. Observe the man who needs validation. He will betray himself to earn your approval. Observe the man who cannot endure rejection. He will crawl at the first sign of abandonment. These weaknesses are maps to their destruction. And yet most people never bother to look. But you must. Your eye must be sharp enough to see not only what a man says, but what he hides. Not only what he wants, but what he cannot bear to lose. That knowledge gives you power. And here is the cruel reality. Knowledge of another man's weakness is more valuable than gold, more strong than armies, more permanent than fortune. Because when you hold it, you control not only what he does, but who he becomes in your shadow. The second pillar of cold dominance is silence. The crowd speaks endlessly, giving away their thoughts like cheap coins. But silence makes men nervous. Silence forces them to reveal themselves. When you say nothing, they will rush to fill the void with confessions, with fears, with desperate signals of weakness. Silence is not emptiness. It is a blade. The less you reveal, the more others project onto you. They fear what they cannot read. They respect what they cannot predict. And when the time comes to speak, your words land like steel because they are rare, deliberate, and heavy. A single phrase from a cold mind carries more weight than 1,000 cries from the desperate. The third pillar is timing. Dominance is not about constant motion. It is about striking at the exact moment when resistance is weakest and impact is greatest. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without thinking is just recklessness. Cold dominance requires patience. You wait, you observe. You let others expose themselves, drain themselves, destroy themselves, and when the moment comes, you strike cleanly, surgically, leaving no chance for them to fight back. Timing is the invisible hand of power. It decides whether your move crushes or crumbles. Remember, lions do not chase every rabbit. They wait for the prey worth killing. The fourth pillar is control over your own image. The crowd is obsessed with being liked, with being loved, with being seen as good. You must throw away this weakness. Love is short-lived. Approval is fragile. And the masses turn on their idols faster than they crown them. A Machiavellian mind understands that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But fear does not mean cruelty. It means respect forged in unpredictability and strength. You must create an image that is untouchable, never desperate, never needy, never swayed by the opinion of the mob. You are a fortress, not a beggar. This image is armor, but it is also bait. People are drawn to power they cannot corrupt. And they will seek your validation, your presence, your leadership. This is dominance, not because you chase them, but because they bend toward you like iron toward a magnet. Finally, the last pillar of cold dominance, detachment from outcomes. When you enter the game of power, you will win some, you will lose some, but the detached mind is never broken by loss nor drunk by victory. The cold thinker knows that every battle is part of a larger war, and every war is part of a larger plan. Others panic when they lose ground. You simply recalculate. Others celebrate when they gain favor. You simply prepare for the shift that always follows. Detachment makes you impossible to control because nothing controls you. Not failure, not success, not praise, not rejection. You are steady always. The board may change, but the player remains unshaken. Understand this. The art of cold dominance is not about ruling others for the sake of ego. It is about becoming untouchable in a world designed to break men. It is about ensuring that when chaos rises, when betrayal strikes, when fortune shifts, you remain the one who adapts, survives, and conquers. The world will always belong to those who cannot be broken. Build this into your identity, into your thinking, into your very blood. And when others fall, you will rise. Not because you were the strongest in muscle, but because you were the strongest in mind. Now lock this into your will. Comment below. I dominate through silence, patience, and control. Weaponizing the weakness of others. Power is not built from thin air. Power is harvested from the flaws, the addictions, the fears. and the blind spots of other men. The weak do not know they are weak, but they parade their weakness openly like fools offering their throats to the blade. To a cold thinker, this is not cruelty. This is opportunity. And if you wish to become untouchable, you must master the art of weaponizing the weakness of others. Look closely at those around you. Everyone has a pressure point. For some, it is pride, the desperate need to be recognized, respected, validated. For others, it is greed, a hunger that can never be satisfied, an endless thirst for more. For some, it is love, or rather the terror of losing it. And for many, it is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of failure, fear of being nothing. These pressure points are not just flaws. They are levers. Push them and you move men. Grip them and you control their actions. Machiavelli understood this well. He saw men as they truly are, driven not by goodness but by desire and fear. He knew that to control the masses, you must feed their illusions while keeping your hand firmly on the leash of their weakness. Weakness reveals itself in patterns. The man who brags constantly is insecure. The man who cannot refuse temptation is ruled by it. The man who hates being ignored will chase you endlessly if you deny him attention. Every reaction is a window into the design of their mind. But most men are blind to these patterns. They see noise, not signals. The cold thinker, however, studies like a surgeon. He collects information. He watches, listens, remembers, and with each observation he builds a map of leverage. This is how you rise above the crowd, by knowing them better than they know themselves. Now, how do you weaponize this knowledge? First, through influence. If a man craves validation, give it sparingly, conditionally, so that he connects his worth with your approval. If he fears abandonment, pull away at calculated moments and watch him chase you. If he is greedy, dangle opportunities that keep him hungry but never satisfied. This is not about destroying him completely. It is about making him orbit around you, bound by his own flaws. You are not forcing him. You are letting him force himself. This is power at its coldest. When a man believes he acts freely, yet every step he takes is within the cage you built around his weakness. Second, you weaponize weakness through unpredictability. When people think they know you, they relax. When they relax, they expose themselves. By being unreadable, you deny them the ability to manipulate you while giving yourself the perfect position to manipulate them. Imagine two generals. One shows his moves, the other conceals his plans until the final strike. The concealed one always wins. Your cold detachment makes you unreadable, and in being unreadable lies dominance. Third, you weaponize weakness through selective mercy. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to crush an enemy, but to leave him standing, broken, but alive. A man who owes you his survival becomes bound to you more tightly than chains could ever hold. His gratitude may be shallow. His loyalty may waver, but the memory of your mercy will haunt him. And when the time comes, he will hesitate to betray you. For betrayal will taste like spitting on the hand that spared him. Mercy, when used sparingly, is not kindness. It is mind warfare. Fourth, you weaponize weakness by playing the long game. The crowd wants instant rewards. They want victory now, dominance now, validation now. But the cold thinker understands that the most crushing victories are the ones ripened over time. If a rival is arrogant, feed his arrogance until it blinds him. If he is impulsive, lure him into rash decisions. If he is greedy, let his hunger push him into dangerous risks. Then when the moment comes, you strike, and he falls not by your force, but by the weight of his own weakness. You do not rush, you wait, you watch. You let him load the weapon against himself. Patience is not passive. Patience is the killer's blade hidden until the final moment. But here is the critical warning. In weaponizing the weakness of others, you must never allow your own to be exposed. Every man has cracks. Even the strongest fortress can fall if its walls are left unguarded. So you must guard your mind, your emotions, your desires as if they are crown jewels. Never reveal what angers you most. Never reveal what you love most. Never reveal what you fear most. Because the moment someone else has the map of your weakness, you are no longer the master, you are the pawn. That is why detachment is the foundation. Without it, your fortress leaks. With it, your fortress is unbreakable. In the end, the Machiavellian truth is this. Power belongs not to the strongest or the loudest, but to the man who sees weakness and turns it into architecture. Empires are not built on goodness. They are built on leverage. Kings are not crowned by chance. They are crowned because they bent men to their will without those men even realizing they were bent. You must walk the path of cold dominance by mastering this art. Watch, learn, exploit, and always stay unreadable yourself. Because the moment you become transparent, you step down from predator to prey. You must embrace this ruthless reality. The world will not reward your purity, your innocence, or your good intentions. It will reward your ability to play the flaws of others like instruments. And when you turn their greed, their pride, their fears into tools, you rise, not as one among them, but as one above them. That is what it means to weaponize weakness. That is what it means to become untouchable. Etch this creed into your mind. Comment below. I turn weakness into power and power into dominance. The illusion of loyalty and the power of betrayal. Loyalty is the most tempting lie mankind ever created. Men crave it because it promises stability in a world that is endlessly unstable. They build kingdoms on it, forge friendships on it, swear oaths on it. They believe it is sacred. But the Machiavellian mind sees through this illusion. Loyalty is never permanent. It is never absolute, and it is never free. Every loyalty has a price tag, whether it is gold, fear, admiration, or advantage. The crowd clings to the fantasy that loyalty binds forever. But reality is far colder. Men are loyal until they no longer benefit. And when benefit ends, betrayal begins. This is not pessimism. This is truth carved into history. Kings killed by their own generals. Families torn apart by inheritance. Friends who turned to rivals the moment power shifted. If you build your foundation on loyalty, you build on sand. To become untouchable, you must see loyalty not as a shield, but as a tool, not as a guarantee, but as a contract written in disappearing ink. Machiavelli himself advised princes that it is safer to be feared than loved, because love rests on loyalty and loyalty is unstable. Fear, however, binds men even when their hearts have turned cold. A man who fears you may resent you, but he will hesitate before betraying you. A man who only loves you will abandon you the moment another offers him more. This is why cold power requires detachment from the illusion of eternal bonds. You use loyalty, but you never depend on it. You accept betrayal as unavoidable. And by expecting it, you are never broken by it. Instead, you are prepared. The art of betrayal, when mastered, becomes a weapon sharper than any sword. Understand this. Betrayal is not always an act of hate. It is often an act of strategy. To betray at the right moment, in the right way for the right gain can lift you while crippling your opponent. But betrayal must never be sloppy. The weak betray out of emotion, out of anger, out of envy, out of fear. The strong betray out of calculation. They wait until betrayal brings maximum advantage and minimum risk. And when they strike, it looks less like treachery and more like something that had to happen. The betrayed may rage, but deep down they realize they handed you the blade themselves. But just as you may use betrayal, you must also defend against it. This is where true Machiavellian mastery lies. Not in avoiding betrayal altogether, which is impossible, but in controlling its impact. You must never put yourself in a position where one betrayal can destroy you. Spread out your alliances, just as a wise ruler spreads out his armies and his money. If one man betrays you, you must have another ready to replace him. If one door closes, you must have already built 3 more. A cold thinker is never cornered by a single point of failure. Equally important, you must learn to manipulate the perception of loyalty. People crave the illusion of being trusted. Feed that illusion, but never surrender your actual power. Give men titles, symbols, words that convince them they are your trusted friends. Let them feel indispensable while you quietly ensure they are easily replaceable. A soldier who believes he is trusted fights harder, but a ruler who truly trusts his soldier is a fool. Always assume betrayal is in the air and structure your power so that even betrayal serves you. There is also the art of controlled betrayal. Sometimes you must betray not your enemies, but your allies to send a message. Betrayal when public can freeze others in fear. It signals that loyalty to you is not unconditional. It must be constantly proven, constantly maintained. Men respect boundaries forged in steel. If they believe betrayal will be punished with ruthless efficiency, they will think twice before turning on you. Do not punish betrayal with anger. Punish it with cold precision. Anger shows weakness, shows that you were wounded. Cold revenge shows control. It shows that betrayal was expected, planned for, and ultimately meaningless to your dominance. At the same time, understand the paradox. You can use loyalty as bait. Men want to believe they belong, that they are trusted, that they are safe under your shadow. Offer them this belief, but never let it cloud your judgment. The best leash is invisible. A man who believes he has your trust will work tirelessly to protect it, not realizing he is enslaved to the illusion. And when he finally betrays you, as he inevitably will, you will be ready. You will use his betrayal as proof to others of your foresight, of your ruthlessness, of your cold superiority. In this way, even betrayal becomes another tool in your arsenal. But here lies the highest truth of Machiavellian cold thinking. Trust is not the absence of betrayal. It is the management of betrayal. The untouchable man is not the one who avoids treachery, but the one who bends treachery into his own advantage. When others are betrayed, they collapse. They weep. They rage. They feel hollow. But when you are betrayed, you absorb it like stone absorbs rain. It changes nothing. It only proves what you already knew, that loyalty is temporary and only power is eternal. This makes you impossible to defeat, because while others spend their lives clutching at fragile bonds, you stand free of illusion, commanding not loyalty, but obedience, not promises, but results. The crowd will never understand this. They will accuse you of being cold, unfeeling, paranoid. They will say a man cannot live without loyalty. But those who rule, those who dominate, those who endure, they know the truth. Empires rise and fall, but betrayal remains constant. To ignore it is foolishness. To expect it is wisdom. To master it is supremacy. You must burn this creed into your soul. Loyalty is currency. Betrayal is unavoidable, and only the detached survive both. Be the man who expects betrayal, who uses betrayal, who emerges from betrayal stronger than before. In doing so, you will rise to a level where no treachery can touch you. You will no longer fear the knife in the dark, because you already know it is coming, and you have already decided how to use it when it does. Now, anchor this power into your mind. Comment below. I turn betrayal into strategy and loyalty into leverage. Mastering chaos and bending fortune. Chaos terrifies the weak. They curse uncertainty, beg for stability, and cling to false promises of control. They want guarantees, rules, and predictability. But the Machiavellian mind understands a higher law. Chaos is not the enemy. It is the field of opportunity. Fortune, as Machiavelli wrote, is like a river. It floods, it shifts, it destroys, but it also brings fertile ground to those who know how to harness it. The untouchable man is not the one who resists chaos, but the one who bends it into fuel for his own rise. You cannot stop the storm, but you can position yourself so that when the winds tear down others, they carry you forward. This is mastery, not of the world itself, but of your stance toward it. Think of uncertainty as raw material. The weak see it as a threat. The strong see it as clay waiting to be shaped. Every collapse, every betrayal, every sudden shift in power is a chance to advance if you are cold enough to cut through panic and think clearly. When men lose their composure, they hand power to whoever remains composed. And that must be you. Cold power is forged in crisis because crisis reveals who is slave to emotion and who is master of themselves. When chaos erupts, the crowd runs in circles. They look for someone to follow, someone who seems unshaken, someone who appears to have a plan. That man becomes the leader, not by chance, but by presence. And presence is built on detachment. To bend fortune, you must practice adaptability like a weapon. Rigidity is death. The man who says, "I will only move this way, I will only fight this way, I will only win this way," is already finished. Fortune will break him because life does not obey his script. The cold thinker moves like water. He shifts. He adapts. He takes the shape of the moment while never losing his essence. If one path is blocked, he creates another. If one plan collapses, he already has 3 more prepared. Fortune cannot break a man who bends without snapping, who flows without resistance, who turns even setbacks into stepping stones. This is why detachment is critical. If you are attached to a single outcome, you will be destroyed when it fails. But if you are detached, you see 1,000 outcomes and you bend toward whichever serves your rise. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the bold, but boldness does not mean recklessness. Boldness means the cold courage to act when others freeze. Most men drown in hesitation. They wait for certainty that never arrives. The Machiavellian man does not wait. He calculates risk, measures opportunity, and strikes while others tremble. The timing is everything. Too soon and you expose yourself. Too late and the moment is gone. But with cold observation, you learn to read the currents of chaos, to feel when the river of fortune is about to shift and to act decisively. To the crowd, it looks like luck. To you, it is mastery. Understand this. Chaos will always return. Fortune will always shift. No empire, no position, no alliance is permanent. The crowd fears this truth. You must embrace it. Because when others cling desperately to stability, you will ride the storm. When others lose everything, you will seize the ground they abandoned. And when they finally look up, they will see you standing above them. Not because you resisted chaos, but because you learned to bend it. That is the essence of untouchable power. Not control over everything, but control over yourself in the face of everything. Carve this truth into your mind. Comment below, I do not fear chaos. I bend fortune to my will. The untouchable mindset. Now you see the path. Detachment from what you cannot control. Mastery over your emotions. The ability to weaponize weakness. To expect betrayal. To bend chaos into opportunity. This is the cold thinking that Machiavelli understood, the thinking that makes men untouchable. The world will try to chain you with fear, with love, with promises of loyalty, with illusions of stability. But you must walk above those chains. You must hold yourself like a fortress, silent, patient, sharp, and unbreakable. When others rage, you think. When others cling, you release. When others collapse, you rise. That is the essence of cold power. You do not need applause. You do not need loyalty. You do not need the world's approval. You need only your discipline, your foresight, your command of self. That is freedom. That is the mind of a ruler. And if you embody this fully, no chaos, no betrayal, no loss will ever shatter you. You will not only survive, you will dominate. This is how you become untouchable. Now anchor this final creed into your soul. Comment below, I am untouchable, cold, unbreakable, free. And if you found power in this message, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next step in sharpening your mind.